Good to see everybody. Who's up?
Geno's had some of his best games in Detroit in the last couple of years. What do you think about his demeanor or whatever it is that he does well in those really loud, hostile type environments?
Experience. I think that's a big part of it. Is he can play through tough environments. Just number one, a lot of experience, and he's got the right mindset. He's got a tough mindset that he knows it's going to be tough, and I think he goes into situations like that expecting it to be, difficult. And I think when you know that, you bring your best, and Geno will bring his best.
You see a lot of stunts in games with Aiden Hutchinson, and they do everything to get him up. What is it that's tough communication-wise for guards in defending twists in games and stuff like that?
I think if you got bad eyes, it always starts there. I'm probably oversimplifying, but I do think if people are moving around and guys aren't disciplined with their eyes, that can be problematic. And, I think anytime you play a good player like Aiden, that, 97, you got to be worried about him and maybe get a little over angst on things. And I think some of his best stuff's when he's just ripping up the field, too.
How do you feel about where your run game is through 3 weeks?
Never satisfied. I'd probably tell you that in week 24. But, this league is tough to run the ball. So I think, you have to constantly continue to find your DNA and know the things that you're going to be good at and continue to focus on that and try to match it to your players. What are we good at doing? I think there's some teams that are a little bit better at other things than, so for us, I think we've shown a little bit of variety, which I like, making sure defenses have to defend all your gap schemes, outside zone, inside zone. But I think right now, we still got a lot of growing to do there.
What have you missed without Ken Walker?
I mean, he's pretty explosive. I think him and Zach are both crazy talented backs, so I think we're really blessed to have both those guys. They're just different. I think, in the open space, obviously that's where Ken is really, really dangerous. He's extremely difficult to get a hand on, and, and he's strong. So I think sometimes there's guys that are scat backs, so to speak, that get out in open space, but you put a hand on them and they might go down pretty quickly. But Ken, I think, is very unique that he can create and generate that space, and then when he gets into that space, he's very difficult to bring down. He's strong.
Going back to the run game a little bit, it sounds like versatility is good, obviously, but would you like to have like a calling card schematically with your run game?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're always going to find what your guys can do best. And for us, I think it's shown up already with some of our zone techniques and things like that. That's been what we've been good at.
Right. I was going to say the right guard spot sounds kind of something that remains in competition. Is there a point where you want that to not be in competition, or? Yeah,
I would say day one of training camp. Yes, I'm being a smart ass, but I do think that the sooner you can get that established, I think the more comfort those guys have working together, and that just shores up the whole operation where guys aren't guessing. So we certainly hope that we can start to get that hammered down here.
I guess Anthony obviously played the whole game the other day. How did you feel?
I don't think Anthony he'd probably tell you he didn't have his best game. And I think he's a young player still that hopefully is continuing to develop. And we think he has a very good skill set, and there's some other things that just got to come along in his game, and we're just still trying to develop that.
But what part of Christian's game do you feel like he needs to take a step forward or see more playing time?
Just technique and power. I mean, I think that just raw power at the guard position in the NFL is so critical, and that's why obviously Anthony can withstand a lot in there. Just his sheer size and just what he can take on the inside. So I think for Christian is not getting overpowered and overwhelmed.
What was the key in getting the tight ends involved last game? Was it more about them, or that's just the maturation of that position?
I think the ball finds guys depending on how defenses play you, and I think one of the things that we have is we have a good system that the ball can matriculate to a lot of different guys. And if you start to draw your attention to one or two other guys, the ball can find another guy. And I thought that's kind of what happened on Sunday where, Noah started to open up on some different concepts.
If Christian does play more, anything that you'll do to help prepare him for a primetime game, loud environment as a rookie?
No, I mean, we try, every day in practice. I think you can try to simulate that as much as you want, create a chaotic environment and make it as tough on them, both, sound-wise and situationally that you can on a player. And then you have to, just believe that they're ready for that opportunity because there's really nothing you're going to be able to do here to truly, simulate what that's going to feel like on a Monday night game and, at Ford Field, really loud. So I think you just got to trust what you're seeing in practice.
Stone Forsythe is obviously going to see a lot of Aiden Hutchinson. Just how have you seen him progress from when he had to come in week 1 to how he played the last couple games?
Just steady. I think that Stone's one of those guys, that you really want to tip your cap to, that he believes he still can play better, takes coaching really well, knows that there's still tricks and tools that he can access that he hasn't done yet. And I think for him, that's what he continues to do is try to develop his game and eliminate weaknesses.
When you play on Monday night, like having the extra day to prepare and to practice, does that allow you to have more of the game plan than you would for some of the
The temptation is certainly there, yes. And I mean that too. I think that you can, start to look at things almost too long instead of, sticking with what you got. I do think there's some things that mechanically you can do where people are moving and things like that, you have another day to iron that wrinkle out. So it might not necessarily be more quantity, but it might be some of the type of operations that you're able to do just because you have more time to detail those things out.
You say moving like shifts and
Oh yeah, yep, for sure.
There's been a trend towards more condensed formations in the NFL the last couple of years. Can you talk about what the pros and cons are of condensing your formation versus spreading things out?
Yeah, trying to, without overgeneralizing, I think in the NFL that versus college, so to speak, your hashes are tighter. So sometimes when you condense formations and splits and things like that, you generate more space to the outside. And when that happens, you think about where the ball can go and where you can stress defenses. So I think, you look at teams like the Rams and things like that, that's generally what you're going to see is some type of stress on the exterior of the field.
When you're playing hostile environment, is there a temptation where you try not to, in terms of trying to play fast, or you have to stay patient within whatever you're playing?
You absolutely have to stay within the game plan. I think that's the key, is that if you start chasing ghosts, just because you're playing in a loud, hostile environment, I think the guys feel it, and I think there has to be a piece where you trust your offense and you trust your guys to make the plays, that you start trying to generate all these, crazy ideas and things like that it can get difficult for the guys. You just want them to be able to compete and execute.
Why have you, when you've gone no huddle or faster pace, why do you see it having worked the way it has the first 3 weeks?
I've always felt like generating tempo against a defense is, for us, we feel like we have more calls than they do, so there's more concepts and scheme that we can run on a uptick versus what a defense is capable of running. They're not used to making calls fast, and they definitely have those, and defenses always do. I know Detroit does as well, and we have to be aware of that and not think that the whole game plan is going to rely on just going fast. But you certainly can see when teams struggle to line up quickly, and then you can attack that.
DK mentioned of the touchdown that he had against Miami, which is a play you guys repped a lot in camp, but hadn't really visited much since then. What goes into dialing back to a play that you maybe haven't repped in a while?
Oh, I think, first of all, the compliment goes to DK and Geno for sure. Those kind of plays come to life when players can make, checks. So you have plays, and then you have plays off the plays that they can get into. And when they see a certain look, they can go to it, which is certainly what Geno and DK did on that play. And so when you start seeing looks in a game, you can alert, hey, this is starting to show up. We need to think about, this type of look and what we can do off of that. And so I think you rep it enough in the off season that it's a grooved play, and you can fall back on that almost at any time. And that's exactly what happened. So it was really well executed.
Is that something Geno alerted?
They both look for opportunities like that. Geno will get the process started. The play gives them a check that they can get to, and then then you have plays where one guy will check it like a quarterback. You have one where a receiver will read it. There's all kinds of opportunities like that.
Lions play a lot of man coverage.
Yeah.
Across the league, there's less man coverage going on than there has been in the past. Why do you think the trend is that direction?
Well, I think Coach Glenn has some guys that he has, a lot of confidence in playing man coverage, and I think that's something that's shown up over the last this season, especially compared to years past, where maybe they just felt better about their talent level. So I think typically it always starts there for defensive coordinators, like what their level of faith is in their guys to be able to guard, man coverage, and then also associated with that is how fast you can get home. And right now they probably feel really good about their ability to get to the quarterback and play man coverage. So I think those two things, when they pair up, that's a really tough defense that you're going to face.
Can you tell by watching the film, that even if you don't know the guy per se, like what his background was in DC? Like if you see that was
There's some of that, yeah. There certainly is, yeah. I mean, I think there's a mentality you can, if you're just watching and you don't know the guy, you can see what type of caller they are, as far as just watching games chronologically and things like that. But then sometimes it makes a lot of sense. Like you watch him and be like, okay, what's this guy's background? You go back to it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He's a D-line guy. He's going to love all these twists and stunts and all that stuff.
How much time have you spent on that studying DC since you haven't been in the league?
Yeah, a lot. And I think that, for us, we always want to look back on coordinator history and things like that they've done, or trees that they've come from, and think about things that have made sense to them in the past.
Is that all off-season because you don't have time to do that game week?
Yeah, we do it. There's some things you definitely have to look at during the season as well that maybe you didn't dive into the details of it during the off season.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach.
Have a great day.